another. This is not a grab bag because I have plans, but it is grab bag adjacent in that I haven't planned at all.
So you have vague plans?
I have vague plans.
Okay.
So we're not going to go full grab bag on this one, but the main chunk of today is going to be about how about that Xbox show? Xbox show, huh? Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
The work you put into these.
Thank you so much.
I imagine you spending your entire Friday night just
Yep.
in Mario Paint.
Yeah, it's me and Mario Paint on a 3-day weekend. I ignore my family and I just sit in a broom closet and make that happen.
What's the right color for this message? Orange. Orange is the right color.
With little purple buttons.
Yeah.
What's the basketball team go? Suns. Phoenix Suns, right? Is that the one?
That's what's
There
your
you go.
inspiration.
There you
It looks
go.
like a virus.
Yes, it does. It looks like it. Well, I mean, to be honest, like that's semi-intentional because I thought that the Xbox show was going to be a virus, a terrible waste of my time, and I was kind of blown away that it was as good as it was.
Somebody in my gaming chat referred to it as a funeral for Microsoft because it was just it's time to bury the Xbox.
They're kind of before this show, it was as if they were kind of just limping along through the motions.
Yeah.
It seemed like that the launch of the systems X and S was good, and then they had that first year was pretty good, or 2021 I mean, so the second year technically, and then just off a cliff after that. And no recovery.
They had no first party titles, no exclusives, none of that, and they have been and are now still able to kind of get by with the great value that Game Pass is, and it is a great value.
It is a great value.
But then they started people started looking around like, hey, where's our exclusives? Where's our system sellers? And they're like, okay, guys, we've got this one that's coming in this year, 2023. It's called Redfall. You're gonna love it.
No one loved it.
And then
Nobody loved it.
the game lands with a
thud. So for Microsoft, I will say, whoa! Congratulations on the party mode. You weren't expecting that, were you?
I was not expecting that, and I really
wait. Yeah! Xbox did it. Xbox did it.
I'm really liking this new production value that we have. We've doubled our budget.
Oh, absolutely.
Production budget.
And I'm sorry to all of our epileptic friends in the audience. I will stop this momentarily.
Or we're being arrested.
Oh, no, here's arrested. Check this one out. Here's arrested. Oh, man. Oh, man. What did you do?
Not again.
What? Not again? Oh, secrets. Let's keep those secrets intact. Anyway, no more strobing. And let's hope that color temperature gets right back to normal. And it does. And it's a win.
Cool.
So we're going to go in depth on all the Xbox stuff and some other live show things.
Okay. Are we only doing Xbox?
No.
There was an obscene amount of video game content that came out on Sunday.
Yeah. So you're going to drive that truck when we get there. But before we get into any of this stuff, I do need to catch up the people, and you on Zelda.
Oh, Christ.
Real quick check in. How you doing on Zelda? Got it. Okay, so that is the reaction I thought. So the last time I mentioned Zelda on this program, I mentioned how it's a really, really wonderful game, but it feels kind of same.
Yeah. Not your favorite Zelda that you said, to my surprise.
Still not my favorite Zelda, but I mean, that's it's asking so much, it's not even funny. I cannot tell you how good Wind Waker is. And I don't think... I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot of things on your plate, and I know you desperately want to play this Zelda game. But I'll just, because we're in the midst of it right now, I'll say just skip it for a while longer and play Wind Waker first. Because you've never played Wind Waker. I don't think.
I've not played Wind Waker. That's true.
I can set you up. with Wind Waker HD on the Wii U, which is now a pretty expensive game because they won't re-release it on the Switch. At least so far. I'm sure that's coming.
What do you mean set me? You gonna let me borrow your Wii U?
Yeah, you need to play that game, man. And I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the timing of all these things.
That doesn't come easily. You don't.
I don't.
Your equipment.
I don't loan a thing out because I've been burned once, and that's all it takes. You burn me one time, and I'm done. The Blockbuster is shut down.
Yeah, fair enough.
So. In regards to Zelda, my only criticism was that it was too similar to Breath of the Wild. So now I'm 70, 80 hours, 90 hours, somewhere. I honestly don't know.
You were about 50 last time.
Yeah. So let's just say I've doubled that. I still haven't beaten it yet. And I feel like at any time I can beat it if I want to. But I've spent so much time in the depths. And that is where this game just shines. It's just that's where all the difference making stuff is, as far as I'm concerned. The depths itself is like the same size as the world map, and the level of jazzy that I get from exploring and finding stuff down there, and it looks totally unique. Like that's the other thing too. And when I first started, when we checked in on that on the first episode where we talked about Zelda, I had only done like the bare minimum down there, had not invested a lot of time so far, and then some other friends who play Zelda were like, you should go down there. You should spend more time down there. And then finally, after I completed like the 4th main mission, and then was like, well, I've done that. Now it's time to really sink my teeth in down there. And now like that I've done that, and basically anytime I play the game now, almost exclusively down there, just chipping away and exploring. Like it's like this awesome underground Zelda game. So it doesn't have like. Your main story beats and all those important elements of any Zelda game are still on the main Hyrule. But all of this stuff, secrets galore that I will not spoil for you or any of our, we'll call them the Midlife Krisis family out there. I won't spoil it, but like, it seems like they've hidden all of the magic down there. And here's where I'm really excited, Uncle Bob. Now that I've done all this underground stuff, which by no means am I done, I still have a lot to do. There's still the sky, which I haven't even explored. So to walk back my criticism of this game feels similar, similar to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Like,
so you actually like it more now than the last time?
I definitely like it more now. And I believe on our show, I even mentioned I gave some caveats of like, as it is right now, as it stands right now. Yeah. And that turned out to be kind of a prophetic thing because I've doubled my time and I've really seen a lot more of what that game has to offer. And it is some mind-blowing stuff. So not to salt your wounds, although this is
absolutely
invariably salting your wounds.
I was really hoping you'd be like, you know what? I think this game is just overrated, and you don't need to play it after all.
Yeah, you'll be fine without it. Yeah. It's not the case. You should probably figure out some things and get cranking.
Play right after I play Wind Waker.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. All right. Well, my summer is filled.
You're fine. And you know what? I'll just a quick aside. I'm going to let you choose if you want. You can borrow Wind Waker on the GameCube and play it as nature intended, or you can HD it on my Wii U. It's your choice. I'll let you think about it. I'll let you stew on it. Okay. So that's Zelda catch-up talk. So important that I did that. So we're there.
Just jump right in my nightmare. The water is warm.
Totally. And you know what? Let's party. Let's party because we're
celebrating Zelda.
Yeah, oh, that's cops. There's party. Yeah, we're celebrating Zelda's achievement.
Very fine line between cops and party.
Well, like 3 or 4 colors added into the mix is the difference, I think.
One usually follows the other.
Yes. So let's get back to the main meat of today. How about that Xbox show, huh? So, why don't you, if you want, kick things off here? Let's kind of break this down from a micro and then go macro. Overall, what was the one thing of the show that really had you jazzed up the most about the whole thing in general? Shoot.
Sure. And we're talking just about the Xbox show.
For now, yeah, we're just going to at the end of this. Let's because the Xbox one was real meaty.
Definitely.
The other two that I'm assuming you're talking Ubisoft and Capcom are the other two that you watched?
No, the one before Xbox, the PC Gamer show. There's like 40 trailers that came out.
So that one is going to be all Uncle Bob because I didn't even know that it existed. I was busy playing with miniature 80s computers like this mini A500 and of course this miniature C64 right there. I have a lot of love for both.
Yeah,
they were on the table. I had Uncle Bob put them on the table just because look at them. I mean, they're tiny little computers. But since you mentioned, I'll birdwalk real quick. I'll vamp because we're the PC thing. So this bad boy, for a lifelong computer guy, have you ever played an Amiga?
No, actually, no.
Okay, so
only the predecessor. Yeah.
I also have never played an Amiga until I got this little guy. And let's be clear, this little guy is just like it's basically just an emulator box. Like it's real cool, looks real neat. It's got printing on the keys. Keys do not function, but it's just like a little proprietary like system on a chip, and it has like ports and what have you. And of course, I don't roll without flash storage where I can play all the games I want for no money. Because these are Amiga games and no one gives a shit and they're super easy to find on the internet.
I like to think that there's some kind of like Gil like developer out there watching our show in the 1-bedroom apartment. The royalty could have bought me lunch.
He was counting on it.
Counting on
Sorry, it's just not in the cards today. But yeah, this computer, the A500, the Amiga. When people say the Amiga, they're typically talking about this. There were certainly improvements to this computer line, but this is the most famous one. It was for anyone in Europe. It was like in the 90s. This was the computer. It was very heavily gaming focused. And what's interesting to me as a production nerd is that it was also like video editing focused before any other computer ever. There was a program on here called Video Toaster that was like the industry standard in terms of generating digital graphics at a time where there wasn't digital graphics. Digital graphics, such as this one right here. But yeah, it's a really cool little thing, and for me, it's like completely unexplored territory. So almost every game I've played on here is like the first time I've ever played it. So it's neat. Maybe one of these days in the very near future, we'll do a Let's Play, and so you can kick down on some.
I would love that. I'd like to specially request that. Actually.
All right, then if you've heard it here, that is in the books. We're going to do that, and these will remain on this table because they look neat. And there you go. And if you get bored of me yammering on, go ahead and feel free to pick them up and play with them. So back to Xbox. What, in fact, oh no, I'm setting you up for a question, and now you're playing with the tchotchkes.
You asked me.
You're right.
You gave me the option.
Yeah, this is on me. This is wholly on me.
Okay.
But so for Xbox, of their showcase, what was the thing that got you most excited? Shooter.
Okay, I have to give you the lawyer's answer, which is to not just say the name of a game and to over talk it.
Yeah.
So the thing heading into it that would have gotten me the most excited had I known that something was going to be either revealed or talked about would have been by far Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga. That game, Hellblade, we should probably do an episode or something about on this show because it's critically underrated. It's a spectacular game. It's a AAA feeling game from a indie developer. And I've been excited.
Well, formerly indie developer.
Well, now
they are owned by Microsoft. Yes. And real quick, did you ever play? So I've only played 2 Ninja Theory games. I played Heavenly Sword, like in 2007, which was like the first PS3 game that
Those were the WoW years.
Okay, so there's a PS3 game called Heavenly Sword that was like a 5-hour long action game that was pretty shallow, but it was like one of the first console games that was like, oh wow, like we're in a new generation. Like it looked great. And then their follow-up game, I think, was 2010, 11, or 12, somewhere in there. And that was called, oh, God, I have it on 360. It starts with an E. I refuse to look this up. But it's like the whole game is like an escort mission. People know what I'm talking about. God bless it. Whatever. But that's the other game that I played, and it was like set in like a post-apocalyptic wild area. And like the entire game was just an escort mission, which is like... kind of mind-blowing that because this game is good. It was way better than Heavenly Sword, and it's like famous for being a good escort mission game where like the AI of the person that you're protecting is actually like
smarter than a rock.
Smarter than a rock. Although famous last words, I did play this game like over a decade ago, so it may not have aged.
Oh, it may have aged like
milk. Foreshadowing. I love it. But anyway, those are my only Ninja Theory game experiences. You've played Hellblade. I have not. So I'm going to take it. Sell me on Hellblade because I have some words on this trailer. Go.
All right. So Hellblade is spectacular for a couple of reasons. First of all, graphically, especially when it came out, it still looks pretty good. When it came out, it looked really, really, really good. You could not believe that this was made by a development team as small as the Hellblade developers were. Second, they do this really interesting thing with sound in the game, and this happens the minute that you turn on the game. So it's not really spoilery at all. But your protagonist, the main character, has voices in her head, and when you play this game as God intended, which is late at night with headphones on,
naturally
that are either 3D sound or at least surround sound, but definitely noise canceling, you hear voices in your head while you're playing. If you play the game long enough, you start to feel like you're developing a psychosis of your own.
Auditory schizophrenia.
Yeah, it is awesome. So the combat of the game is just okay. The story of the game is good, not great, but good. You're into it. And but really the progression of it, the sounds that you hear, and the immersiveness that comes from the environmental effects, and then especially the graphical qualities, just made it a really, really wonderful experience. It's also relatively short. I think it's about 10 hours, which is pretty good for a game of that caliber. Usually they're a lot longer than that. So I played it, loved every minute of it. And then shortly after I played it, back in, I believe, December of 2019, I believe, we got an announcement before the Xbox Series X had even come out. A year before it had come out, they announced and had a teaser trailer for Hellblade 2. And I was like, I'm here for it. This is going to be great.
Right.
They're already announcing it, so it could be coming in 2020. Oh, that's a little early.
Yes.
Maybe 2021. I'll give them a break. 2021 we'll be playing this game. And instead, I believe at the end of 2021, in the Game Awards, they did a really amazing trailer that showed the protagonist like fighting a troll. And then you didn't hear about it for a while, and now there's this reveal that happened at the most recent Microsoft showcase that you're about to talk about. And my point is, had you told me and you'd been like, hey, I've seen the Microsoft pitch, Hellblade's going to get mentioned, I've been like, all right, man, here we go. We're gonna have it. And then go ahead and tell me what happened, Brian.
What happened in terms of the trailer?
What you saw.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you're alluding to the fact that there was no date, is that what you're talking about?
Well, that's my complaint.
Okay.
You have different complaints.
I certainly do. By the way, I lied when I said I refused to research this. It's that game is called that game is called Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. And I forgot they also did DMC, the Devil May Cry reboot, which did not have. Yeah. It was like all ground up reboot that was a one and done. Like they finished that, and then 5 came along and went right back to Capcom in-house development and all that stuff.
So they like, we'll try with an outside developer. Oh, you guys screwed that up. Let's back to in-house.
I remember the game reviewing pretty well. I never played it. I've never been like the biggest Devil May Cry fan. Yeah. Although maybe I should be, because I'm like a gigantic Bayonetta fan, and like that series begat Bayonetta in terms of like staff and like gameplay ideas and all that stuff. Even, I mean, especially art style. That's where like the main artist of Devil May Cry that went on to be the main designer of Bayonetta. So this Hellblade 2 trailer, first of all, let me say, I'm very happy that my guy is happy. Yeah. As one should be.
And there is a release window, 2024.
Okay.
I was looking for something more specific, but whatever.
Okay. Well, that was that's a theme of this show that I think we're going to continue to touch on. Like, this was a great show, so many awesome games, and I think 4 of them are coming out this year. And of that, like one of those is like an expansion, not even a full game. But so when I saw this, so I know the original Hellblade is kind of a beloved game, and I'm familiar with like the things that you've touched on, like graphically, all that good stuff. I just have never gotten around to play it. But this trailer made me just about as angry as a hog covered in shit taking a shower. It was
specific.
Yes, it was the most pretentious thing on the whole show. So if you haven't seen it, it's. I assume the main character, she's a female protagonist.
Yes.
And she's like in this like underground cave looking area, and the camera's just slowly spinning around her, and like things on the wall are moving as if she's like tripping on a psychedelic drug or something.
And hearing the voices in her head.
That's what got me. And like my attitude on it has changed a little bit now that I know that this whole auditory schizophrenia thing is like a part of the game.
Big part of the game. Okay. A core feature of the game, okay. You dickhead.
So, you dickhead. But not knowing that, with having no context of that, like this trailer, like it was literally like you would hear her ask a question and then immediately answer the question over and over for like 120 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And I just wanted it to end. I wanted it to stop. And I was just kind of rolling my eyes the entire time. However, objectively, or subjectively rather, it looked the graphics were great. Like, looked like a really top class visually speaking. So I was at least there for that. But yeah, this was not a trailer that did anything for me in terms of you and I talking about Hellblade right now has done a better job selling me on the series than that trailer sure did.
What an interesting thing for you to say, though, because I want, like, Hellblade is sort of I don't want to say cult classic. It's probably more popular than that, but it's not, Zelda. It's not like a AAA seller.
Sure.
So if you haven't played Hellblade, but maybe you'd heard about it like you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, here's a Hellblade trailer. Let's see what's going on here. But you don't know the core gameplay gimmicks. You don't know about the auditory.
Yes, I knew
components of the game.
I knew nothing about any of this stuff.
So there could be a whole swath of people out there who just got turned off from the game because all they're hearing is just this repetitive whispering over and over again for the whole.
Well,
trailer.
and if you're just a caveman moron like me who like got really excited about a new Mortal Kombat game, and I actively own every Splatterhouse game ever made, like you'd think a game called Hellblade would be like, what the hell, yeah, brother. But like,
where's hell? I don't see hell anywhere in this trailer.
Yeah, no, I just saw art.
Yeah,
I just saw a bunch of
cave.
Art. In a dumb cave.
I'm looking for Satan here. I'd like one Satan, please.
How hard is that, guys? Come on. But anything else on Hellblade that you're really looking forward to?
Well, other than the game coming out, because I'm still here for it. No. But
Okay.
but we still need to pay attention to that.
Okay, we will keep our eyes in tune on that prize.
Okay. Can I keep going?
Well, I'm gonna go.
ready.
I'm gonna take over for what my pick of that show was, and then
Okay.
I'll volley back to you.
Okay, I'm ready.
I can see it. We can see it. It was a good show. I mean, freaking come
It
on.
really was a good show.
How about it, huh? Okay. So for me, surprisingly, this is I think this might surprise you a little bit, but maybe not. The opening trailer of this show was for Fable.
Yeah.
And you don't know that until like the trailer's almost done. But it's this like real quippy interview with A1 Richard Ayoade, or I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Uncle Bob, I have been a fan of this guy for damn near 20 years, like literally 20 years, I think. A mutual friend of ours, Pierre, showed me years ago this show called
The Mighty Boosh.
No, before Mighty Boosh. It was well, I think Mighty Boosh probably came out first, but in terms of what I saw first was Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And so Richard Ayoade plays this character Dean Lerner, who's like this scumbag Hugh Hefner type producer who finances the show. If you haven't seen the show, it's like
a deep cut, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, it's you want to talk about a cult classic, like that show is a cult classic for sure.
Yeah.
But I think every so often, like you can see it on Amazon. I believe right now it's on Amazon Prime. Back in the day, it was shown on Adult Swim. That's when I first saw it. But it's like this fake show that was shot in like the early '80s, and then they show modern footage of the show, the players being interviewed and stuff. And so Richard is like one of the main guys in that. And then of course he played Moss in the IT Crowd, which is a very beloved show. And then reprising his role as Dean Lerner in Man to Man with Dean Lerner. All this stuff like I can't recommend enough. So when he popped on the screen, like it immediately got my attention. And then as the trailer like kind of played and shifted, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, is this like a Jack and the Beanstalk kind of a game?
Yeah.
Because it shows like the main character. I forget the order of the trailer, but like she's in this world, and I kind of had a feeling it was going to be Fable, just because like why wouldn't you open an Xbox show with one of the very few exclusive games?
Oh, sure. Well, it's also throwing down the gauntlet of like we're recognizing all the criticisms of us when we're trying to make you forget that by like pay attention. Remember when we talked about BlizzCon the one time after all the scandals, and it was like next BlizzCon is going to be like the end all be all BlizzCon. They want you to forget everything else. You got the sense that this was the end all be all E3 show for Microsoft because they really brought a lot to the table.
Yeah.
And it was to make us forget about all the failures of the last 12 months for them.
Yeah, and when they had a lot to cover for. That's a
Yes,
fact.
they did.
But yeah, just the way they revealed the fact that you are going to it's like a shadow. It's like a comedic Shadow of the Colossus game, basically, from what I gather. Like the characters running around in the house of gigantic Richard Ayoade, and man. I'm very, very, very pumped for that game. I've always been a Fable fan. I think the original Fable is one of the few Peter Molyneux games that, like, of course it did
tread
not.
lightly, Brian.
Yeah, well,
you know who you're talking to right now.
It obviously did not deliver on his very infamous lofty promises.
Got to lead with that.
But I would say that it got pretty darn close in terms of like what you could and couldn't do and what the game was promised to do. And at the end of the day, it was like a really fun game.
It's a really fun game.
Now, Fable 2 delivered on everything. Fable 2 is probably my favorite pound for pound Xbox 360 game. Was that ever released on PC, Fable 2?
I don't think so.
Okay.
If it was, I never played it.
So it's still an exclusive 360 game, we think. And then Fable 3 came out, totally shit the bed, as will happen on occasion.
Killed the franchise.
Yeah, killed the franchise for years, like for a really, really long time.
Yeah, over 10 years.
Yeah. But Fable 2, I can't say enough good stuff about that game. Like it's all the cheeky British humor you would ever want, and then just like all this. So for me, like, and we'll get into this later as we talk about Starfield, like. So I have like an aversion to Western role-playing games. Like the big ones I always attempt to play, and like Skyrim hooked me for a good long while, but I never beat it. Even the Mass Effect games, like I've tried, but it's just something about how Western RPGs like kind of overwhelm you, in my opinion, with like the amount of crap that there is to do, and so much of it is arbitrary, again, in my opinion. But they've never like hooked me. Fable 2 is the first one that really, really hooked me. And I feel like they were able to have a lot of scope and offer the player so much choice, but then in a way that was really like laser focused at the same time, which is why I think that game is so successful.
This new Fable, tell me if you know, maybe you don't know, is it a totally new world? Does it have any echoes of the games of the past?
Well, aside from like the obvious humor, Fable was high fantasy, which is yet another reason why I'm not super into Western RPGs. So many of them are high fantasy, and I just can't be bothered. I don't give a shit about wizards and dragons, unless it's Magic the Gathering. Obviously, I'm not a Philistine. But so that's another turnoff for me in that genre. But it looked like it's a similar aesthetic, similar like kind of looking world. But I think obviously the way that they presented this trailer is to show you that like they're really going to try to tell a specific story. So maybe in this one, you're not going to have the same latitude as you did in the other Fable games in terms of like you could go around and just punch innocent people in the face. And as you do that, you become more and more evil looking and you get access to evil powers. Maybe that's in there. The trailer did not like invoke any of that stuff. So it could be that this game is just using the brand Fable and like going in a whole new direction, aside from like the setting and the aesthetic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was it for me by a mile. I was very happily surprised by it and the way that they told the story. And then again, it all boils down to me being a big fan of that actor. He totally rips. He's really, really good.
Okay, so I really liked City Skyline.
Yeah.
So there's a few things I like about that. First,
I want to cut you off real quick on that. Real quick. I'm going to ask you this question because this is exactly what happened to me. And first of all, I'm playing Cities VR on PSVR 2 right now, and I adore it. It's something that I didn't know that I ever needed in my life. Now that I have it, I'm not going back. But it turns out building a city in VR is incredible. When this trailer was happening, I was so excited to see two words pop up on the screen. And those words are sim and city. And when it didn't happen, I was very let down. What about you? How did you feel about that?
I never thought it was going to be SimCity, even as I was watching the trailer. In part because the game had already been announced. It was announced at
I didn't know that.
Some other show. The publisher of the game announced it a few months back, so I knew it was coming. What I was excited about though was that it's on Game Pass. So when they were saying play it day one on Game Pass, I'm assuming that it's going to be a part of Game Pass, my existing subscription. And it damn well better be, because that's what's hyping me for it. And then it's coming in October. So it's like, oh, okay, well, so this is June and October. Just a few months, not a big wait.
That's the thing that we should definitely mention about this this whole show. Like you want to talk about like hammering you on the head over like, if you have Game Pass, all of this is for you. Like
they put a 5-second bumper at the end of almost every trailer to remind you that. And normally I'd be annoyed by that, but you know what? I get it. This is what they've got. This is what they have to bring to the table.
This is all they have. So, it really is.
If you're buying an Xbox or you're interested in Xbox products, then Game Pass needs to be it. This is the only thing that we're doing to make money. So
for sure.
So anyway, so the game looks great. It's been a long time since I've played a SimCity-like game. I did not play the original City Skyline, and I was wounded, like actually wounded over the failure of the 2013 SimCity.
Yes.
So now, 10 years later, my wounds have healed. There's always scar tissue left behind.
Of course. That's what makes us stronger. That's exactly what makes us stronger.
It's part of the midlife crisis is healing from old wounds. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And processing.
Right.
So I'll be there in October. That'll be great.
And so did you? Forgive me if I just had a blackout right now. But did you play the original Cities Skyline at all?
Did not play it at all.
So I downloaded that on the Switch, and I thought it was a good game. Obviously, it made me. So when I think of SimCity, I'm not gonna bullshit you, guy. When I think of SimCity, I think of the Super Nintendo SimCity. Period.
As you do, as anyone does.
Yes, and anyone who's fucking got a brain in their skull.
Anyone who knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I still yearn for that. I want another one of those. And it's just not ever gonna happen. And you pointed out like that game in 2013. Essentially killed SimCity, but for what we have, if this is the nice toys that are left over for us, I think this franchise is really, really good. And again, I can't say enough positive stuff about the VR version. Highly recommend that. I think what we should do is put a pin on this one. We know we're going to run long because there's so many good games to talk about on this. So we're gonna come back on part 2 of this episode and continue gushing on what I'm going to say is the absolute miracle, the unpredicted miracle that was this Xbox show. So thanks for watching, and come on back for part 2 of this shindig we have here.